up a bit. It was great last week. We may have to reconnect. I even skipped the break here to give you time, but then it started breaking up. But just to be clear, Bill Gates put his $80 billion in a tax-free foundation. It makes money, and now it's tax-free, and he's buying up big pharma, everything, and living off of it, and then using what money, the profit it makes, to steer society. But then we're told, oh, he's giving to us. Yeah, he's giving us poison GMO.
Yes, their giving is within their own self-interests and promotes their agendas.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's not altruistic like we might think. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, you're better now. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's see. So, just letting people realize that they're the ones who created this system. They're making a large share of the important decisions of this system. If they were to evaporate and all disappear, we would not have the system like we have it today, because they play an important role in things. Unfortunately, a lot of the agendas and decisions that they're making are really scary. If they were to all disappear tomorrow, I feel confident we wouldn't have such large wars like the Cold War, World War II, World War I. These were manufactured wars that they created. And one of the things that people read about in the Bloodlines book, they will see the document there that the Secretary of the Treasurer Morgenthau and FDR put into law on December 13th, 1941, a few days after Pearl Harbor. They very quietly made this law that allows certain people to trade with the enemy. And who were the types of people that could trade with the enemy? Onassis, Rockefeller. Oh, these people are Illuminati kingpins making big bucks off of World War II. There were like 450 Greek ships prior to World War II. Almost all of them were sunk at some point or the other in different places around the world by the two sides, because we had a world war going on. However, Aristotle Onassis' ships were never attacked, no matter where they were sailing, and they sailed to all parties.
Let me just stop you. Guys, you can pull up while he's talking, because this is so key. Only Halliburton was allowed under the sanctions in the last decade plus to sell oil field equipment to Iran. And the same thing, they were allowed with a handful of groups to sell to Saddam. They put the sanctions in to shut down all their competition. It's the same trick. You have to know what page of the book that document's on. I want to show it to people.
Correct. It's I don't right offhand because I don't have a copy.
I'll look in the bibliography. What would that be under? Trading with the Enemy? I'll look it up. Keep going.
So we have wars that are created, manufactured wars. And you got a lot of the storylines. I just laugh because they remind me of Back to the Future and Biff. You know, you have this. Like Aristotle Onassis, his family was from Turkey, and he goes to Argentina I think he was like 19 when he went to Argentina, Buenos Aires, and he was washing dishes and arrived as a refugee, penniless, and within a year he was a millionaire. And people say, well, he just worked long hours at washing dishes. What was their family involved in back in Turkey? Well, it was applying opium. And there's a group of men in Europe that have made decisions, the Council of 300 men, wise men, that for a couple centuries at least have made the decisions for Europe. And they decided which families would be allowed to trade in the opium. One of the families that they decided that they would allow to become rich was the Astor family. So we have another Biff in Back to the Future story where we have this guy John Jacob Astor I, and I sent you a picture of him. The guy was a butcher helping his dad, and then he comes to America, and his brother in New York City was given a monopoly by the British when they were controlling New York City during the American Revolution. He was given a monopoly by the British to supply the beef for the British Army that occupied New York City during the war. What a lucrative monopoly. And strangely, nobody ever wonders or questions someone like John Jacob Astor about his British affiliations. You would think that after Americans had fought a war against Britain, that they would be suspicious of.
Well, let me back you up on this. Let me back you up. It's admitted with Skull and Bones. We're going to reconnect after the break with you on Skype to make sure it's a little bit clearer, but most of it's clear, Fritz. But key information: the trading with the enemy, type stuff. Look at Skull and Bones. Look at the Bushes, the main U.S. agents of the Nazis allowed to get away with it, backing up what you've said. And that's what they say about Skull and Bones and the documents that have been leaked. You're given money and power, but you're told it's always given to the group, and you're going to be given this money, but only to control it for the collective. And that's like Bill Gates, his dad's Army intelligence, some out of nowhere head of Planned Parenthood, big eugenicist. His son is then given, we've now documented, technologies that were there, allowed to have the monopoly for a while. IBM gives it away to him. That run by Watson, the big eugenicist, who said in his deathbed, we've got to set up all these subsidiaries so that we get around the laws on monopolies. I mean, you just see it. And yeah, here's that document where all the big U.S. companies were allowed to fund Hitler right through the war. And I've talked to pilots, and most of them are dead now, but it's on record that they couldn't bomb the General Motors and Ford plants in Germany that were making the tanks our troops were fighting. The whole thing was a New World Order war against humanity. Okay, he's with us for the entire next hour. Was going to have for 2 hours, but just so much news I had to get to. But understanding these people, I don't believe they're a bunch of crazy occultists in a ancient mafia that predates Christianity, so of course it's a cult. That's what was there before that. I know it, and there's so much evidence of it. I was just showing Baroness Philippine de Rothschild with devil necklaces, Baphomet necklaces at public events. This is an old woman who looks like something out of a nightmare movie. Looks like a Janet Napolitano or something. And she's got devil necklaces. And then I've got all the lore and the news articles and the connections to the Rothschilds and the occult and funding occult groups and the Rockefellers. And then, of course, you also talk about the guy that they made the movie Rosebud or Citizen Kane about. The Hearst dynasty. I mean, and I've been to his castle in California. It's devils and demons and pentagrams everywhere. And I mean, of course, he's reportedly involved in all this. Please continue.
Yeah, while we're on William Randolph Hearst, okay, let's see. It says something here about my connection. Am I still connected?
You're still connected. We're going to reconnect during the next break, though. Go ahead.
Okay, well, speaking about William Randolph Hearst, I sent you a picture of him because he's riding on a carousel, and those people that have gotten in touch with my books on the mind control will recognize that the carousel is used in programming children, and Patty Hearst being programmed with Illuminati mind control, programmed multiple personality. And then you mentioned the Hearst Mansion, which follows right in line with something else that you were saying. The state of California has taken over the maintenance of his mansion, but when it's closed, I know people have informed me that when they close that off to the public, they will oftentimes have Illuminati rituals quietly on the property. So, yes, San Simeon mansion there is definitely some Illuminati ritual property.
And I got to stop you again. Your book talks about Patty Hearst being under mind control program. Now it's come out saying she was basically mind controlled and that the FBI knew it and that the government was involved with her. That stuff you wrote about 17 years ago.
Yes. Wow. Okay. So yeah, that's one of the things that just like you're saying, when people read this, if they find something hard to believe, just put it on the shelf, because maybe in a year or 2 years, you're going to start seeing the proof for yourself. You're going to see it before your eyes, because now your eyes are open. Yeah, it's all around us. Every day I see this stuff, and I kind of just tune it out, because it's just, I've gotten so used to it being all around. So Astor was this. It's interesting how they choose these people, because John Jacob Astor was not somebody that you would think typically would become the most richest man in the United States, which he did. When he arrived in the United States, he couldn't speak English, and when he tried to, it sounded like he had marbles in his mouth. He was a very crude, unsocial man.
Stop right there. Long segment coming up. I don't want to start over with this. This is too important. You're breaking up a bit. We're going to reconnect with you and come back with Fritz Springmeier on the other side. The book is Bloodlines of the Illuminati, full of documentation. And just whenever Fritz says something, there's all these connections to just proving all of it. About how it's all rigged, both sides of a war, how they're always allowed to trade with the enemy and vice versa. And then they'll even betray their minion like Hitler, and then it comes out there were secret treaties with Hitler and England, and that's why Rudolf Hess flew there, and it all is staged. It's incredible. We'll be right back. We're talking to Fritz Springmeier about how the Illuminati ticks, how this global occultic mafia operates, and going over a lot of the evidence of it. And I'll tell you, when you start looking into this stuff, most of it's hidden right in plain view. All the symbolism, the elite's always getting caught involved in the occult. We're doing a Twitter bomb right now, trying to expose the naked body scanners at the Super Bowl that one local news agency went to cover preparations and took photos and covered it, but no national news, except for Infowars.com and the Drudge Report linking to us, is covering it. Full body scanners at Super Bowl 2012, first-time devices linked with cancer risk, used for public sports events. After he gets more of the Illuminati, I want to ask why they're doing the GMO, the poison, the aspartame, the bisphenol A, the radiation, reactors, leaking radiation on a weekly basis now. I've talked to physicists and people on the inside who think it's being done on purpose to reduce fertility. I mean, is this just all, what's their master plan on that front? I want to throw that question at Fritz Springmeier, but if you go to the bottom of our article at Infowars.com, there's a link to Reddit. We're trying to do a Reddit bomb here, because I'm told by listeners that's really important to do. It's got a lot of comments and a ton of votes, and we're trying to push it to the top. Please get into that story and send full body scanners at Super Bowl 2012. Please vote that at the top of Reddit. And I also want to have you get it, and even more importantly, get it out on Twitter at twitter.com/Real Alex Jones. Get our Twitter on it. Get this trending. Boycott the Super Bowl over their use of cancer-causing body scanners. Use pound Super Bowl scanners. And then that will send them to the article that breaks this down. So let's kick some hind end on that. I want to thank everybody for getting involved. Okay, continuing with breaking down your book, Bloodlines, the Illuminati, Fritz Springmeier, now back in print, available at Infowars.com. And we are selling these quick. We can always reprint